time to follow the money with your hosts, Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard.
Live today from the oddstrader.com studio here at Circa Resort and Casino. Oddstrader.com. Download the free OddStrader app right now. Start winning with up to the second info that you need. So I'm looking at the schedule for tomorrow night, Paulie, in the National Hockey League as it makes its return. How would you describe to people who are new to the show the first period totals phenomenon that took off a couple years ago?
It put this show on the map. National attention. It was the greatest sports betting phenomenon of, I don't know how long, certainly of our 20 years living out here. And it was ridiculous. Games were opening over minus 150 and closing 220 and higher. No one talked about this. No one ever thought about it. I ignored it. And Alex Smith pointed out one day, hey, the Blackhawks have played like 12 straight first period overs. And then we followed that, and then we had the follow the money 5. And there were 5 specific teams that kept going over. And Tampa and Chicago both played 18 straight overs. And I think Tampa had like a 23-2 run, 23-4.
They did.
23 out of 24 run. It was ridiculous what the Blackhawks were doing. And it was crack. It was instant gratification. As Jeff Davis says, who works here, it was Degenerate's Paradise. He has the T-shirt. It was, got to wear it tomorrow, or the Gretzky. Because it was, all I have to do is invest 20 minutes. That's it. I'm done.
Yep.
And there were so many different ways you could bet it. And Vegas really got exposed for not being creative. Because there's so many places. Goal in the first 5. Goal in the first 10. 2 goals in the first 10. Over 2 goals. Over 2.5. All this stuff in the menu. And it just became nuts for the whole season. And how people, and that's when Mr. Poison started going against us when this was hitting almost 90%.
When the top 5 teams were playing against each other.
When they would play each other.
Yep.
It was 88%.
Yep.
Again, Donaghy was fixing games and couldn't hit that.
So, do you remember what his original nickname was? It was not Mr. Poison. I gave him a different nickname before Mr. Poison. It was Mr. Contrarian.
Yeah.
That lasted for probably a couple of weeks before we realized he lost every bet.
Dave Tooley. Dave Tooley knows nothing about hockey. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Dave Tooley. When does Dave Tooley is dog or pass? Yeah. When would Dave Tooley lay $1.70 with anything?
Oh, never in his life.
He was doing round robin and parlays with the first periods and crushing it.
And put it this way, I mean, the market changed so much that it went from originally over a goal and a half, like let's say minus 150 in some of these teams, to 2 goals minus like 30 cents to the over.
Right. And that's when we met Mike Palm. And I said, who is this guy giving out unders here? Who's this guy, this clown? I had a bad scouting report, and the rest is history. But that's because Mike would wait. Mike would bet first period unders right before they dropped the puck. You're seeing 60, 70 cent movement.
That's right.
It's incredible.
Now look at this photo here.
Oh.
So the NHL, they're going to play 2 games this regular season in February, back-to-back at Lake Tahoe. Now, if you've never been to Lake Tahoe, it's actually my favorite place in all of North America. I want to retire there someday. Look at that. That's the rendering they put out.
On the golf course. Look at that.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Derek Stevens, I don't ask you for much. Let's go. Come on. Let's go out there. Hang out. Let's take it all in. Little craps. Watch the game. Come on.
That's an all-timer right there.
Oh, man.
Oh.
Put a couple games out there.
I can't wait for that.
Wow.
Yeah. Up next, we'll recap the national title game, grade a lot of the props, odds to win next season here on Follow the Money.
This is Brent Musburger, and here is your VSiN action update. Now, here are the latest lines from my guys in the desert.
Ben Simmons could return today from his sore knee. The Philadelphia 76ers laying 3.5 against Miami at Wells Fargo Center. 76ers, after a 7-1 start, have dropped 3 straight. San Antonio, a 2.5-point favorite at Oklahoma City. Golden State playing Indiana the second night of a back-to-back. A 2-point favorite at home, 228 the total at Chase Center. College basketball, Kansas a 3.5-point favorite at Oklahoma State. St. John's laying 2 at home against Butler. Alabama the 3-1 favorite to repeat as national champion in college football. Clemson plus 350. Ohio State 5-1. Another big NFL playoff weekend is coming up, plus daily hoops and tennis betting action, and the NHL drops a puck this week. Get all the VSiN's insights as an all-access subscriber. Subscribe today at vsin.com/subscribe. That's VSIN.com/subscribe. With your action update, I'm Mike Senna.
Get the latest VSiN odds at VSIN.com. And remember, cash and tickets is what it's all about.
welcome. This is Follow the Money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Mitch Moss along with Paulie Howard on the day after the national championship game in college football. Congratulations to Nick Saban again and to Alabama as they take down the national title in 2021. And it was a romp. Good, exciting, dramatic first quarter that completely flipped in the second quarter when Alabama scored 28 points. They had 5 touchdowns at half. Mac Jones goes over every single potential prop. The completions, the yards, the touchdowns, he got to 5. Devontae Smith, the Heisman Trophy winner. We were saying 8.5 receptions. Not that we were saying bet the under, but we said 8.5 might be the highest we've ever seen. He had 12 catches for 215 at halftime and 3 scores.
On 13 targets.
Yeah.
I mean,
Is that efficient?
Yes.
And just the overall, the play calling and the design and the execution, I would say if Sark, he's getting a third chance here, right? And I hope he can, flip it because I want to see Texas get good again. If he can bring in, I'm not going to say comparable athletes to Alabama because that's impossible, but if he can, recruit better than Herman and he's going to have that same coaching philosophy, that's going to fly at Texas because they were just extraordinary last night on every single level. And we've said this now for a long time, but the LSU offense last year was the best in the history of college football. This year's Alabama team might be better. They were a lot of fun to watch, and I bet Alabama -8 right before the news broke on the players being out for Ohio State.
Yeah, that didn't help matters. I mean, they were in a tough. This is a tough assignment to begin with. You lose your running back in the first series, and you don't have your nose tackle and defensive end, and you're going to pack a lunch, and then you had you're in a shootout, and then you have to settle for the field goal. Fields is banged up to begin with, and then this freight train on offense. Jones 25 of 30 for 340 and 4 scores at halftime. My God, and they had 40 yards of offense. I mean, what do you stop? What do you take away? But I echo your sentiments. I mean, what a job with Sark turning his life around, and also Saban willing to adjust and adapt and not being a dinosaur. We're going to grind 3 yards in a cloud of dust. We're going to win 17-10. Those days are long gone. And to bring in Kiffin and to bring in Dable and to bring in Sark and what he's done changing this offense. Now, I know they go hyperspeed and go fast, but certainly the defense has fallen off. They couldn't stop Ole Miss. They couldn't stop Georgia for the most part. And they certainly didn't have any chance of slowing down Florida, just outscoring people. But it hasn't mattered who the quarterback's been in there either the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's been crazy. But the wide receiver talent, that's the thing. Where do they get all these guys? And that's where it's on, it's on where they're going all over. It doesn't matter where they're going. They go into Florida. They go into Texas. They're just picking every guy. Who you want? Well, I want to go win a championship, and I want to play in the playoff.
Well, and I believe
it's got to be all on these Florida State, Miami, USC, Oregon. Maybe Nebraska's finished. I don't know. Those days are probably long gone, too. I guess kids don't want to go there anymore. But they have got to get their act together. Texas, you have got to get your act together and start being a big boy program and getting back to dominating college football and at the very least, keeping the talent you have in the state.
Well, I would say, just getting competitive with some of these other teams.
Sure. Pac-12's a joke.
Because everyone knows. Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. Right. And even when Oklahoma's had their chance in the past, and now Riley has recruited exceedingly well on offense, we all know this, right? But when they go up against some of the big boys, they get blown out every single year. It's like Notre Dame.
Yeah, just the Georgia game, right, with Baker.
Yeah, that's right.
Other than that, the game's over in the second quarter.
Yep. I don't know. Maybe Notre Dame can start.
No. I can't see it. No,
I'm saying bringing in a higher level of recruit. Maybe they're going to start bringing in more 5-star kids and develop them and then get actually on the same level as maybe a Clemson.
Are they going to tinker with the academic requirements?
That's the thing. Right?
It's come on. We go back to 98 with Notre Dame. Every loss is by more than 2 touchdowns.
How about this? The good tweet from Kegs and Eggs. Adam Kramer works here at VSiN. Devontae Smith final season tally: 117 catches, 1,856 yards, 25 total touchdowns. And they did that without. Waddle was considered the better receiver of the bunch before he went down earlier in the season, and then Smith stepped up like this.
How about the Chris Felica tweet? 5 touchdowns and 6 drives to start for Bama. Last 7 games in the first half, 30 touchdowns and 39 drives, excluding kneel downs. Just ridiculous. It is absurd, yep. And the gift that keeps on giving for 3 years. Alabama first half and come back and take the under in the second half.
Well, here's the wild thing about Saban now, and he's getting up there. He doesn't look like it. The guy really has not aged that much, but I believe he's, mid to upper 60s at this point. So he's probably got a good 5, 6, 7 years left, I would say at least. What happens when he's actually going to get back to bringing in the same level of talent on defense that he did 5, 6, 7 years ago? Because I got to tell you, the offensive recruits are going nowhere. When the first initial recruiting rankings came out, I think in December, what was it? He grabbed 4 of the 9 highest rated wide receivers in the entire class. Again, you're going to be playing behind everybody. But evidently it doesn't matter.
I love that story that Fowler and Herbstreit told, too, about Mac Jones. How he struggled against the scout team so much he was crying. And Dable had to sit down with him and say, okay, get your head on straight here. And now the season this guy had, and who probably could be a first-round pick in the draft. The other thing, maybe this is like the Golden State Warriors, where how the sport has changed. Because the artifacts and relics would look at this the last couple of years and say, oh, wow, you give up 110 points a game. Well, how can you tell me you're a great defense? Well, it's because there's so many possessions. It's points per 100. It doesn't account that points allowed per game doesn't account for pace. So I still think they have talent on defense, but it's just look how many plays they're running. Yeah, look how many chances. I mean, look, you still had 10 touchdowns, but how many punts did you have? There's so many more plays now because everyone goes so damn fast now how they play.
Yep. I don't know. And when you look at the odds for next year, again, they're the favorites with Clemson. Why would they not be like around 3-1? Why would Alabama or Clemson ever be higher than like 3-1 ever again? Alabama was 5-1 to begin the season. A couple of people, including Brent Musburger, got him at like plus 450 or 5-1 to win. The question was, what's it going to be like at quarterback going from Tua to Mac Jones? The answer was they got better. Mac Jones was better this year than Tua ever was in college, and I can't believe I'm saying that. And I don't know what that means for the NFL level, but he's going to be a first-round pick according to all these mock drafts, and maybe he's going to be a total dud playing, in that league. I don't know, but he does throw. He's got amazing talent right now. Guys are always open, but he throws a beautiful ball. I know that. He puts it right on the money whenever he has to. And 14 of the last 15 championships now have been won by a team in the southeastern part of the country.
Yeah. The Chris Felica tweet, too. There's been 21 times, 17 of the 21 wins in the college football playoff by Ohio State, Alabama, or Clemson. And how you change that is you expand the playoff and you let other teams in. Or else you're just going to, because I can tell you right now, unless there's some fluke, who's going to make the playoff next year? Bama, Clemson, Ohio State. Horrible for the sport.
Actually, I'm thinking right now, has any team won it besides those 3 teams?
LSU won it last year.
LSU last year, yeah. I knew I was blanking on one.
I would call that a fluke, though. At least lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
You had
it all came together.
Yeah, it all came together. Now, as far as remember, roll Tide my ass, what Orgeron said after they beat him on the road. We're going to kick their butt in recruiting. Well, that remains to be seen.
Right.
I mean, you had an unbelievable talent last year, but you were a disaster this year. Now, I don't know what it looks like moving forward, but this guy is the GOAT, and it's ridiculous what he's done with 7 national titles.
I saw a good tweet from our buddy Chad Andrews last night. He said, we're watching the Celtics play from Bill Russell's years. 11 titles in 13 years. That's pretty much what Saban has turned Alabama into. And I don't think it's changing anytime soon. No,
not till he retires. No.
Yep.
And it still might continue, though, because Dabo might come in and just go to the Alabama. Yeah, and then what happens?
And as for, if they keep it at a 4-game playoff, I decided to bury this past year. I stopped watching the silly committee show. And as long as teams as like Cincinnati have no chance whatsoever, what's the point of even watching that show on Tuesday nights in the future? Why? And what's the point of beating the drum for a team like Cincinnati or Coastal Carolina or anybody ever again? Not just to have a sniff, right? Just to get in the playoff. That's all I'm talking about here. What's the point? It's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's disappointing. It's frustrating with so many blowouts. But the kids are going to go, and they're doing this. The kids are going to go because they want to be where they can make the playoff and win a championship. And right now, that's only 4 schools.
Yeah.
You can throw Georgia in there, too.
I need to see it to believe in
right,
Georgia.
Okay. All right.
But it's certainly, it's who's challenging Ohio State anytime soon in the Big Ten? It's not Jim Harbaugh. Who's going to challenge Dabo and Clemson?
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. It's like the Patriots in the AFC East for all those years.
Yeah.
You're right. Who's going to stop Ohio State in the Big Ten, and who's going to stop Clemson in the ACC? It's not happening. And I believe I heard, I forgot to look, I believe Miami plays Alabama to start the season, or one of the big non-conference games. You know how that's going to go.
Of course.
So they can get their chance early on, but that's right then and there. I mean, Miami and Florida State dominated college football not that long ago.
Yep. Some of the props that came in last night again. Fields way under passing yards. He had a 194, closed 309.5. Shop around, depends on your book. Mac Jones, it was 380.5. He went for 464. Touchdowns. Fields, again, it was between 1.5 and 2.5 at certain books. He only had 1. Jones was either over 3.5 or will he get at least 4? He threw 5, of course. If he had Sermon props, I'm sorry. That stinks. First run of the game, he's out. Harris actually, I want to know this. Did anybody see what Master Teague was to score 2 touchdowns? I guarantee that was available.
Good one.
And I never saw it.
Alabama first quarter. Good action. And the total. Bama laying a half. 7-7. They're inside the 10. Couldn't punch it in. They punch it in early in the second quarter. The total opened 76. How good are these guys? Here at Circa. Combined touchdowns, 9.5. It was 10. Field goals, 1.5. 2. Both quarterbacks, first pass incomplete. Fields 2-1. Jones got his 235.
How about that?
Both of them. 40-cent move on the yes. Jones' first pass would be complete. No score in the first 3, 4, 5, and 6 minutes. William Hill had the first 4. Other places had 3. Just run it down the list. That was great. Fields' touchdown passes. Frank B. talked about this. Because there was several spots that had 2.5. Here they had 1.5, and it was open 160, closed 270, but it stayed under. He only had 1.
Wow.
His passing yards were bet up 11. 289 to 306, no good. And even Mac Jones rushing yards, 1.5 to 3.5. He had 11.
How about the first drive of the game? Because it took a lot of time off the clock for Alabama. I'm talking about here because Ohio State went 3 and out. But the Alabama drive, to take off that much time, you're actually like, oh, Ohio State's defense is actually, they're not getting gutted for, 27 yards of play right now. It's, maybe a tough drive for Alabama. They get into the end zone. The in-play total at one point was 70 in the first quarter because they were taking so much time off the clock. And then in the second quarter, I think it got as high as 86.5.
Yep, I played over. I saw the same thing. Yep, no dice. And then I thought I was going to get there, though. First and goal. Inside the 5, was it inside the 5 or with that 6? You throw 4 straight times, and then the kid's wide open. Fields misses him.
Missed him. Yeah.
And then that's what Bama does best. They just milk the clock like Parcells and the Phil Simms teams. Just milk it, and just chew clock. Couple first downs. That's it. That's all she wrote. But they made it. I know it was a rough season.
Thank God.
I didn't think we'd have it. I mean, I thought no way we were going to have a college football season. And with the Big 12, we're not going to play. Big 12, Pac-12, all this. We'll get some FCS getting right around the corner here with that. But they pulled it off. They crowned a champion.
Yep. I remember in April, our conversations, when the whole pandemic thing was still kind of new to us. Maybe it was March, actually. I said the number one sport that scares me that we're not going to get is college football. All things considered, when you got to have campus life, what are they going to do with that? Is it going to be all online? Is it going to be all Zoom? But then you're going to be maybe having still like parties on campus, that kind of a deal. It's going to be impossible to pull it off. And just thank goodness we had a football season. And we were capable of, a lot of games were canceled, obviously, or postponed completely. But to actually crown a champion again, and much deserved one at that with Alabama, it's great. I can't wait to, get back to some sort of normalcy with a season. Hopefully that's going to be starting next year. Don't have to worry about any of that stuff anymore.
Yep.
Knock on some wood.
We talked about this all last week, about tortured fan bases.
Yep.
And Cleveland fans are saying it's us. I made a case for the Vikings, Bills fans. Rich in Canada. Don't forget about the Maple Leafs.
That's a good one.
No cup since 1967. Mecca of hockey. Stacked roster every year. Mediocre goaltending always gets us. Also, he said a screenshot in. Frederick Anderson is 0-8. Last 8 potential series clinching games with a goals against a 3.50 and a bad save percentage. Maple Leafs, too. They also, kind of like the Vikings, they'll lose in the most painful way possible. Gretzky comes into your house in Game 7 with the hat trick. 1967. You went there one time. They were lousy. You couldn't even get a ticket.
I went there in the winter of 2014, I want to say. Visited the city. It was awesome. Had to go to a game, right? We were lucky to get tickets on the 5th level.
Toronto is awesome.
Oh, it's a great city.
Bet, yeah.
And it was a Thursday night, and I've talked about this before.
Corporate spectacle, though? Was it a little quiet, sitting on your hands? Or
no, it was pretty good.
Okay. Oh, okay.
We went to a sports bar when it was done, and it was like a 40-minute wait to get.
Right.
Yeah, we talked about that before.
The Norma Sports Bar.
Yeah, like 150 different TVs. Great setup.
Yeah.
I know. I'm a huge fan of that city. But that they have to be on the list.
Uh-huh.
The game against Boston not that many years ago.
Uh-huh. Was it a 3-goal lead?
3-goal lead.
Is that what it was?
Third period, they blew it.
7? Oh. And they blew it against Columbus. Oh, man.
That's right.
The guy's right, though. The no cup, the drought, and also mecca of hockey, and they always have a lot of talent.
Yeah, for sure. Let's follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Mitch Moss, Paulie Howard up next. 3 games in the EPL today. It's been the gift that keeps on giving.
Oh, yeah.
But they're slight favorites today. That's coming up next.
back in full swing. Bet Rivers has every shot covered. Live betting opportunities on every point. Instant results on the most live streams of tennis matches in the world. Get a $250 match bonus. Fastest payouts and only one-time playthrough at Bet Rivers. Your hometown book. Must be 21. Playable in Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. Playable New Jersey as Play Sugar House. We got soccer all week. We got hockey starting tomorrow. The Penguins and Flyers play. You drop the puck at 2:30 in the afternoon. This is awesome. I love the North Division with all the Canadian teams. And fingers crossed that hockey can pull this off and get this done. And we're excited for some of the outdoor games, too. And we got a couple emails, too, about there'll be some Godfather 2 remarks when they're playing a game.
Oh, that's a lock.
That is good. All right, today. So here we go. The gift that keeps on giving. I can't believe it. Never disrespect the odds maker. Or always respect the odds maker is what they say. Nigel says he leans Sheffield United today. Only team in Premier League history to go winless in their first 17 matches. They have 2 points. 2 draws, 15 losses, 0 wins so far. They're taking on Newcastle. Sheffield's also on a 4-1 underrun. Newcastle's in 15th place. You know Sheffield United's in last. But when you look at the odds here, though, Sheffield plus 148, Newcastle plus 215, and a total of 2. Sheffield cannot score. Can't score. Lost 2-0, 1-0, 1-0, and then the 1-1 draw. Right. I mean, it's a major achievement if they score. They just won a match over the weekend. What is that, FA Cup, whatever that was. But
that's what it was.
I mean, they can't. They have 2 points for a reason. They're awful and they can't score, and they're going to be relegated. But they continue to be in this. This is just strange when you look at the price. But
it was a 3-2 win they're off of in the FA Cup over Bristol Rovers.
I would take Newcastle though.
Yeah,
I would take Newcastle again. We've won 3 in a row going against Sheffield on the show.
So going back last couple of years, Newcastle beat Sheffield 3-0 in 2020. They beat them 2-0 in 2019. And again, you said the total is 2 here. Over is 15 cents. But Newcastle in the 205, 215 range in the match. Are you going to bet them?
You have to.
You have to on principle?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
I'll go against Nigel there. Right. Man U and Burnley. Here comes Man U. 230 favorite, tied with Liverpool on top of the table, averaging 3 goals per match. They're on a 4-0-1 run. Burnley's in 16th place. United a 4-1 overrun. Burnley a 4-1 underrun. And 2.5 the total. Draw plus 340 here at Circa.
So Man U, they're currently tied for first in the table. Yep.
They're playing great soccer.
They are. Man U, they have 6 wins and 1 draw on the road, and they're averaging 3 goals per game on the road. 6-1-1 last 8 overall matches. Burnley 4-1-2.
It's on the road there. Okay, it's on the road with that. Very good.
Burnley, they do have a pretty good history against Man U.
Uh-huh.
I mean, they don't get annihilated every time. In fact, the last time they played, they won 2-0. There's a 2-0 loss in there. There's a 2-2 draw, a 1-0 loss, a 2-2 draw again, a scoreless tie. So, I mean, they keep it competitive here. They're low-scoring games almost every single time going back here with the recent numbers. And won once, drew a couple of times, and low-scoring losses in the others. And the total there is 2.5 overs minus 140.
Any thoughts on Everton Wolves?
I actually might lean Burnley plus a goal plus 120.
Okay. All right. I might go with Everton, though, in the other match. 7th place against 13th place.
Mm-hmm.
And that totals, that's another 2 with Wolverhampton.
What are you looking at for an overall number of Everton there? Yeah, they're more than $2 as well on the 3-way. Wolves are 2-4-2 in their last 8 overall matches. Everton 5-2-1, so they're playing much better soccer. Now, going back to 2004 between these two clubs, they've played 11 matches, 5 draws overall, and each team has 3 outright wins. And the draw here is, higher than $2 in this match. That might be the angle.
Well, remember, Nigel's been saying for weeks now with this underrun that we had because of the weather, so damn cold, and he was right about about all these unders. But now they're making you pay with 2s, 2 2s, and also he probably recommends looking at the draw. You got 220 and 214 in the Everton and the Newcastle matches.
Right. All right, so there you go. That's today's EPL card. It is Follow the Money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. You can always get in touch with the show via email. It's ftm@vsin.com, ftm@vsin.com. So we've had a lot of good contest players this year on the show. We had the winners of the Super Contest. They finished second. We had the Booby Prize winner. We'll have the proxy here, who's been doing this for a long, long time. Vegas Maddie's going to join the show, runs a football contest proxy service here in Las Vegas. We'll get the rundown from him coming up next. For the betting action for this weekend's NFL games, plus tennis, soccer, and hockey for less than $1 a day. Increase your sports betting knowledge with an all-access VSiN package that includes our daily email best bets, 24/7 video streaming, an 86-page NHL preview, and Point Spread Weekly, our betting guide that comes out midweek. It's less than $1 a day, plus you get a free trial. What are you waiting for? Sign up today at vsin.com/subscribe. Vegas Maddie joins the program now. Proxy service here in Las Vegas. Website is footballcontest.com. You've been doing this for a long time, and
Yes,
you
sir.
had a lot of finishers this year at or near the top in all these contests. First of all, good to see you, man. How are
Good
you?
to see you too. Little tired still after the weekend, but
Yeah.
it was fun hanging out with the guys who are in town to collect, and we still got more coming. So probably be busy the rest of the month.
Yeah, no kidding. So tell us and break it down for us. And you can take out, you might actually do more contests than I'm aware of, but for the Super Contest, for Circa Million, for Circa Survivor, the Booby Prize, how many of your clients, finish actually in the money, high up, won a ton of dough, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, well, considering we did not have the Super Contest winner or the Circa Million winner, and we still had over $2 million in prize money won by our clients. So that's pretty successful, in my opinion. We had 13 out of the 35 Survivor guys who went 18-0. And then we had the third place in the Super Contest Gold winner. And I think our top guy in the Circa Million was 5th place. So he was 2 points away from the million, but he had a couple bad breaks in the games on that last week. But what are you going to do? It was the chicken dinner guy, so he was actually leading going into, I think it was week 15.
Yeah, the lead
14,
there
something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I did the math this morning because I wanted to double check, and he went like 12-12-1 the last 5 weeks, so he would have lost the tiebreaker even if he would have gone 5-0 in the last week. So, yeah, I mean, hats off to Dakota Reed, who's a Vegas local here. Great job by him. I got a chance to meet him on Friday night at the check presentation, and quiet guy, but you know, I mean, it's great to see somebody who's kind of struggling through the pandemic, hit $1 million.
How long was he out of work?
I didn't get a chance to talk to him too long. I know Dave Tooley did a good story on him, but yeah, I mean, it's one of those years where if it's not going to be one of our clients win it, I was happy to see him win. What's
it like when you see the people receive their checks? Do you see how people act different ways?
It's pretty surreal. Yeah, I mean, everyone's, especially Derek and his staff did a great job with they had a ton of big checks created, and we actually even took some pictures with some of the checks with the guys that weren't present. Like we had the Booby Prize winner in the Circa Million. Follow my Baxter, you guys. I know had him on last week.
Yeah.
So he had 2 entries that cashed in the Circa Survivor. So yeah, I mean, it's just like one of those things. It's like it's a once in a lifetime deal. I mean, you don't know. I mean, there's never going to be that many guys cash in the Circa Survivor again. I mean,
totally agree.
It was a miracle that happened. I think it was just kind of a fluky year, but we were happy to have 13 of them who were pretty happy with the check regardless.
Sure, and how every people behave differently. Baxter already has the Corvette picked out that he showed us too, that he tweeted at us, and he says, I'm not going to enter this thing again. I'm one and done with the Survivor. And then maybe I'll see other people just take their check and maybe they'll enter contests again, or they do it every year. I'm also excited to see the changes that they're going to make too, and what next year, whether we're talking Circa Million or also the Survivor.
Yeah, I mean, we talked to Derek Stevens on Friday night, and he wanted to try to get our feedback too on because I mean, we're obviously a good test pool for him. We've got all the clients. We had over 1,000 entries between the few contests that we did this year. So I mean, and we've already heard from some of our clients who have ideas. So one of them came up with an idea of like picking in like a reverse Survivor where you pick a losing team every week, which could be even harder. I mean, you saw the Booby Prize was really tough to do as well, and I thought that was a good idea, and I think they're going to have to probably expand the pool from the top 50 to the top 100 in the Circa Million.
Yeah.
Super Contest didn't really turn out, the way they thought. They had a little over 1,000 entries, and I feel bad for the people who cashed at the end, including your own Brent Musburger, our client. I think he's going to cash a check for $61.95. I think there was a big tie for 99th or, right around there. So, I mean, that's obviously not what they had in mind. They had over, 3,300 entries last year or the 2 years ago. And I think they're going to try to get back to that, obviously. Hopefully, things clear up and everyone can come out this year.
How about a quarterly prize for the Booby?
That would be interesting too.
Love it.
I mean, there's just so many options. I mean, I think what they're going to do is try to keep the contest intact as much as possible. I don't think you'll really see new contests per se, but I think they'll have variations. Like I think that's a great idea. Maybe they kick the Booby Prize up to $1 million, something like that. I mean that's pretty hard to do as well.
Yeah. Okay. So in a couple of minutes here, we'll bring you back for another segment. But what's it like? Can you describe it to us when you have that many people remaining in Survivor, or on a given Saturday where you have so many people that you're working for, and they live out of state, obviously, and it's like 1:30, it's 2 o'clock, and you're like, we have to get your picks in. Come on, and you only have like 2 hands and only a couple of people that are doing it for you.
Well, yeah, they know it's on the line. I mean, we held them as long as possible. We try to get done by 2 p.m. on every Saturday. The deadline to get picks in is 3. So for those last 13 entries that we had, we held them till the very end. We said, hey, we're going to wait, because especially what happened with the Cleveland game the week before, where we had, 3 guys who got knocked out when they played the Jets.
Sure.
It was unfortunate, and they had already sent us their picks, and we'd already submitted them at the sports book, so there's nothing we could do about it. So after that, we were just like, all right, we're just going to wait until the last second and put these in. We actually had one of the guys, the practice squad QB guy, he put his circa million picks in on the app. He was in town, and he was struggling to get the survivor pick in, and he was frantically emailing us saying, hey, is there any way you guys can get this in? We're like, oh, yeah, we got you. No problem. But, I mean, he was in town, probably within a few miles away, and he was having trouble with the app. That's kind of the closest call I think we had. But, I mean, we still had like an hour and a half before the deadline.
Yeah.
But these guys, they knew it was on the line, and they're not going to forget, in week 17. We were, I think, all season, all our survivor guys were really good about getting their picks to us.
Yeah, it must have been so tricky this year in certain spots because of like the Cam Newton news on that Saturday.
That was the toughest,
COVID.
probably, yeah.
That one, and then the Broncos and the Saints game in Denver not that long ago.
Yeah, that was tough, but it actually the news broke pretty much after the circuit deadline, so there's really nothing we could do about that.
Yeah.
Super contest, it was a little different, and we tried to accommodate as many people as we could with changes.
Let's follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Vegas Maddie is our guest. Footballcontest.com is the website. Proxy service here in Las Vegas for all the contests. I want to ask him possible numbers here for next season with Survivor, with the Super Contest, with Circa Million, other contests. How big could these possibly get once we get back to normal? We'll ask him coming up.
Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers get a deposit bonus up to $1,000. It's easy. Sign up with promo code VEASAN to claim your exclusive offer. Plus, think you qualify to join the DraftKings VIP program. Enjoy exclusive benefits, promotional offers, top-tier customer support, personalized contest. Visit DraftKings.com/VEASAN to learn more. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available to play in Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, New Hampshire, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, and West Virginia. Must be 21 years or older. DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. What a promotion. Deposit bonus up to $1,000. Code VEASAN.
You know, last night in the national title game, David Purdom tweeted about this, and I heard about it as it was going on. FanDuel offered a promotion at their kiosks only. Alabama to win the game -110, but you could only bet 40 or 50 bucks at a time.
Really?
It closed at around 310 the way it looks, according to Purdom, and they had to pay out about $5 million to customers. And one person told me they had a friend in Indiana at a kiosk, and he just kept firing in 40 bucks, and he bet it like 30 times.
Good for him.
He bet as long as he possibly could.
And then Bogdanovich also said biggest bet college game in a company's history.
Yeah. Wow.
With what happened.
All right, as we continue here, Vegas Maddie's in studio today. Footballcontest.com, proxy service, been doing this for a long time. A+ rating. So, you talk to all these people as well. Do they have ideas, other contests that you talked about? Because that pick a loser would be great, because think about that. You can only pick the Jets once. You can only pick the Jags once.
Exactly, right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
there's more bad teams than there are good teams, it seems like, every year. But, I mean, it all balances out in the big scheme of things. But, I mean, that's just one of those things. I know people rode those teams in the Survivor going against them. So it'd be interesting to see what happened if they just, used them early on. Or how do you know early on who's going to be 1-15?
Yeah.
Right.
So do you think from, again, having these conversations, is it going to be an overwhelming amount of people in Survivor next year? Like, is that just going to fly past the Super Contest and Circa Million, where it gets to like 5,000 automatically, and it's going to have more entries than anything else?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, I think the entries will definitely be up. I mean, seeing that many people, I think, cash and go perfect. It's I don't want to say it's good and bad, but a lot of those people, especially like our clients, they were hoping to win a lot more money. Obviously, you go 18-0, you think you're gonna take home six figures easily. And they have to split it 35 ways. It's good because it looks like it's doable, but then at the same time, it's like, I mean, people are putting the money up, and if you finish in the top 10, top 20 of the, top 10, I guess, of the Circa Million, you're going to make comparable money. So, I mean, it's to me, it's harder to pick. It's so hard to weigh. Like, is it harder to pick 5 games against the spread every week or a Survivor pool? I mean, there's definitely a market for the Survivor people. I don't know if it's big enough. The big thing is that you could do 5 entries. If you could do 5 in the Circa Million, I mean, then it'll be interesting to see how many people would do that. Because with us, we had a lot of people who maxed out their entries, like both here and at the Westgate for the Super Contest, because you could do 3 entries there as well. So, and a lot of the guys do both, because they could cash in both contests, win different amounts of money depending on how they do. They mix up their entries with their picks and stuff like that. So, it'll be interesting.
As we saw with the Super Contest winner, I mean, how awesome is that feat for a guy that's around this every single week for so many years now? If OD BMG pulled off the Super
double,
Contest and Circa Million, that's an all-time feat.
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, if you look at the standings, one of our partners is FantasySuperContest.com, and it shows like the standings and the picks for everyone throughout the season. And you can see basically from week 3 on, he was in first place the whole time. And then you had the Circa Million. The winner did not lead until the last week, which is remarkable if you think about that. His only week he led the whole contest was after week 17.
Wow.
So total contrast of winners there. But I mean, that just goes to show, if you can kind of just stay in it, because our chicken dinner guy, who was our best shot, I figured he'd have to go 5-0 to have a shot to win it. And, he finished a couple points out. He went 3-2, and that was it. Basically the difference between getting 55 and 57 points. He would have lost the tiebreaker, but, at the same point, it's like, that's what it takes. You gotta finish strong. Our top guy in the Super Contest, Cosmo Kramer, he went, he ended up in 3rd place, and he went 5-0 the last week. So he was able to jump, he had the strongest finish in the top 5, and he was able to jump a couple guys, and end up in third. So that was good to see as well.
These are the stories and the interviews that can help the industry and also help the contest. Don't you agree? I mean, the guy's a cook.
Yeah.
And then he wins, and then ODB and Baker and Mark said, we were thinking about it all the time. We're smart guys, but we didn't have spreadsheets and all these crazy power ratings and all this stuff and how they took it down. And everyone uses the poker analogy with the moneymaker effect. If this will continue to grow and keep getting bigger, bigger, and bigger.
Yeah. I mean, luck has a lot to do with it. Yeah. I mean, Dakota, that was the one thing he said on Friday night at the check ceremony. It's a lot of luck, man. I mean, there was a group, if you follow the standings, that top 5 going into the last week of the Circa Million, and it was whoever finished the best was going to win it. So he went 4-1. He did it. The other guys went 3-2, and that's kind of 3-2, 2-3, whatever, and that was the difference. So, I mean, you can go. Yep. You can get to that point no matter how you do it. You have power ratings. You don't watch games. You watch games. I see a lot of debate about that on Twitter. Like everyone does their own thing. Right. The bottom line is, what's gonna. Are you going to be in position at the end? And what do you do at that point? You got to hope some of these games fall your way. I love my Baxter guy who had Washington. Everything he had Washington and New England, right? Like those were the only 2 teams he really had left to go, and the Washington Philly game broke perfectly for him, and he used both entries on him.
Yeah, it did.
Cash both.
When did you get in? How did you get involved with this? And when did you realize, wow, this is taking off? It's massive. This is a job.
Yeah, well, when I moved back to Vegas, I lived here in the late '90s, and then I came back in 2005 and was working at a sports betting information company. And one of my job responsibilities during my lunch break was to run down to the Westgate and put in a few entries for guys who are out of town. Okay. I wasn't getting paid to do it. It was just kind of like, my gopher boy duties, to go do this in lunch break. And then I found out guys were getting paid pretty decently to do it, for a whole season. I had worked with my partner, Tony. She was working there at the time too. And after we left the company, we had both kind of knew about the contest and handled, a couple of clients or whatever. And then we said, hey, if we team up, it's a lot of work for one person.
Sure.
But 2 people, we could take on the world with this thing. And, the first year that we really we had about double-digit clients, which is nothing now, but it was, I think, 2009, where we had 10, 11 clients, okay? And the super contest was 345 people, or 345 entries. And I think there was probably a lot of locals, still at that time.
Yeah.
Because you had to come into the book, there was no mobile app, nothing like that. Then all of a sudden, it doubled, tripled, and, we kind of went along with that. We had 11 clients, then 22, then 100, then 500, then 1,000, you know what I mean? So, but, build a good website, make it, so that people could get a hold of you. Customer service really is our number one thing. So, I always kind of joke and say, hey, a lot of people want to enter these contests from across the country. They need to hook up with some guy in Vegas to handle their entry. That's $1,000, $1,500 a piece. What's the biggest kind of question you have is, who is this person and have they been doing it a long time? Well, we've been doing it more than a decade, obviously now, and you want that to form that trust from the time the person contacts you. They email you, you want to get back to them within a few seconds or a few minutes, whatever, answer their questions. We've had people that said, hey, I tried contacting my old proxy and he hasn't responded to me in like a month or something. And you're like, you've got to be kidding me. You know what I mean? Like, you want the person to form a relationship with you right away, as far as trusting you, knowing, how long you've been doing this, how many people are winning money? Like, you have clients that are winning money. I mean, that's a big question everyone wants to know. So that's why we like to celebrate that with our clients at the end. And, that's, to me, my favorite part. I mean, it's a grueling, it's 17, 18 weeks. We're going to add another week next year. There's going to be 17 games and, take us through the holidays. That was a little rough this year, with Christmas and New Year's kind of the way they fall. Next year we'll have the same issue. But I mean, if that's the worst thing we have to deal with, that's not too bad.
Go ahead and plug again. Tell people about yourself and plug. But you might even get more business because Derek Stevens kept saying this. how about the case that even locals have to use you?
Agreed.
So stuff happens. You oversleep. You forget about it. Oh, my God. The guy, the local who had 3 survivors still remaining late in the year, he overslept.
Right. I mean, that's the thing, too. I mean, we have a whole laundry list. We print out like a whole list of people. All of our guys are in a spreadsheet, and we cross off every name before we leave the sports book, both sports books. We double check every ticket before we leave to make sure against, every email that comes in with everyone's picks. And, if anybody wants to find out about all these contests, we're going to update as soon as we know when the sign-up dates are, and people can start coming in to enter. Footballcontest.com, the information on all the contests that we proxy for. And for VSiN listeners, we have a special offer at footballcontest.com/VSiN.
Very cool. So how many hours are you and Tony at the sports books on like Thursday, Friday, Saturday?
Yeah, Thursday, Friday, it's, maybe 6-7 hours between those 2 days. But yeah, the Saturday is by far our longest day. Tony gets to, we were at the D from like 8 a.m. till 2 p.m. basically every day, and then shoot over to the Westgate, and we're there from 3 to 5 kind of thing. So it's kind of like, that's definitely the biggest day out of all of them. But it was fun too. It was hanging out at the D with some of the clients. It's the first year I actually watched Week 17 with something like Love My Baxter.
Yes.
Hung out and had a couple Survivor guys. One guy had a game going on, the Colts. He needed that was a nail biter. And then we had a guy with the Ravens who cashed earlier. So it was nice to just it's been really nice more than ever this year to celebrate with the clients, especially with everything going on.
Awesome job, Matt.
But thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming in.
Yep.
Thank you.
And again, the website is footballcontest.com/VSiN if they want that offer as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. The business, good. My God.
Boom.
Yeah, boomed. It has boomed big time since the last 10 years or so. Good luck tonight with your bets. We'll see you.